Hello, small groups. This week we're starting in a new series called Christmas Foretold. We're going to be looking at passages all this month from the book of Isaiah. What's so exciting about this study is there are so many passages throughout the Old Testament that talk about what's to come during the season of Advent with the birth of Christ. And so through each of the weeks, you're going to be studying some of these passages. And what's helpful is to look where are the New Testament kind of quoting and looking back to what's happening here. Today, we're going to be looking at Isaiah chapter 9, verses 1 through 7. What's great about this passage is it's quoted many times in the New Testament, and it's really familiar to most of you that have actually studied this before or just been a part of a Christmas series. So in Isaiah 9, verse 1, it starts off talking about this kind of gloom and this distress. But this is in juxtaposition to what comes in verse 2, where it talks about in the midst of darkness, light has come into the world. What's great about this verse 2, is it shows up in Matthew chapter 4, where Matthew explains that there is this blessing to come out of Galilee, and it is the light, connecting back to Isaiah chapter 9. So this is what we see when Christ comes into the world. The light has come into the world, the light that is lighting up the darkness. Previously, we were in sin, we were in suffering, we were in distress, but now the light has come into the world. What happens through verses 3 through 5 is you get this kind of celebratory tone, celebrations from the harvest, celebrations from a warrior. And what has happened? What's different? How did we go from gloom in verse 1 to now we're seeing this celebration in verse 3 through 5? Well, it's that light in verse 2. And so now what Isaiah is going to do, he's going to explain more what this light is. And so in verse 6, one of the most famous verses in the Old Testament, it says, "For to us a son is given, unto us a son is born." And what's interesting is as it repeats it twice, is it says, all right, so a son is born, but a son is given. So if you know your Bible well, John 3:16, it says that there is a son that is given to us. God so loved the world that he gave his only son. So we have this connection here that's taking place. And if you look at John chapter 3 and verse 21, it talks about the light. You see, there's so many connections between Isaiah and the New Testament because the authors want us to understand how important it is that Christ has come into the world. And so our hope is that in this season, you are seeing these connections here. What I want you guys to talk about as far as a small group is to think about what are ways that you need to bring the light into your own life. Maybe there's ways that you have to build some habits and perspectives into your life where you see the light coming into those dark places. You're going to make a commitment to reading your Bible and studying that you might see that light in your life. And one of the great things that we see as we find in verse 7 here is it talks about this kingdom that's going to come. And there's going to be this righteousness and there's this justice, all these great things because of Christ. We play a part in this when we shine that light on others. You see, Christ has shined the light on our hearts and minds, and we shine that light to other people by being righteous, by being just in this world, by doing good things for others. I hope as you walk through this passage, you see some great ways that you can see the light in your own life from the light of Christ this season.